On the 26th of January, Dr. Mushilenga will address staff. He will also lay out a vision for the next 12 months. I think just to say that it's still being crafted. We had the last validation workshop maybe 2 weeks ago, just ready to consult the end users what we have in the blueprint so they can still input it before we submit it to cabinet eventually. So the idea is to develop a blueprint that will map a way Namibia's trajectory into a digital world. As you know, one of our ambitions is to have a digital government by 2030. So what the strategy is intending to do is to have it is specific focus areas of focus. One is human capital. One, to ensure that we have sufficiently skilled people that will drive the digital agenda. And the second aspect of that relates to infrastructure. If you drive, Namibia is very big. If you drive from one town, if you drive from Fintuk to Chiwarongo, that's about 250 kilos. So there will be blind spots in between. That is true if you go beyond Khubabis, or if you go southwest of Keetmanshoop. So the idea is to then to develop a strategy how we can then increase our footprint throughout the country to ensure that there's connectivity, whether it's broadcast technology, whether it's internet, whether it's radio telecommunications, so that one way or another the country needs to be wired. So these are the three really some of the focus area that we are looking at in the digital strategy. What we are doing is over the next 3 years, beginning this current financial year, the next current financial year from April this year, is that we've asked the Minister of Finance to give us $20 million, $100 million for the next 3 years, so that we roll this gradually. Then at the end of the third midterm budget, then we look at how far have we gone in terms of rolling this out. Then we can see what other areas need to be covered. You're correct. Namibia is vast. If you take a country like Mauritius, it's 79 kilometers in length and 14 kilometers in width. So essentially, you can put up 20, the whole country is covered. Namibia, you can't do that because of the vastness. In other words, Mauritius will be from here to Okahanja. One country is done. But that's just from one town to the next in the case of Namibia. So from here to the border with South Africa is 800. To the border with Angola is 700 kilos. To the border with Botswana is 350 kilos. So you see that's how big our country is. So really, you know, what we are looking at, first to maximize the potential of terrestrial network to the level where we have enough information to be able to go on satellite, because we were engaged with the government of Angola. Our minister, Dr. Mushilenga, met with his counterpart in December in Dubai to really explore the issue of satellite, because it will resolve the issue of distance. Because satellite is satellite, you know, it can cover several countries all at the same time. So that's really where we're looking at now. So one is to have full digital literacy. I mean, if everybody else is able to get connected anywhere else in the country, it becomes easy now to use either your laptop or your cellular phone to interact, to have interactive services. For example, how do you engage with the government? What we're looking at in the future is to see that, for example, job applications in government, now they're still being processed manually. So what the intention is that if you want to have a digital government, is to process those issues online. So that irrespective of where you are in the country, because the whole country should be able to have connectivity, you can just load your documents, your applications there, then you're good to go. Banking services, you need not come into the queue for you to deposit or withdraw money. You can simply transfer money from your home, pay someone from your home, from a comfortable home, irrespective of your geographic location. Some schools already, through the accommodation to the Ministry of Education, to provide broadband in schools. At the moment, 75% of schools have access to broadband. And then 72% of hospitals or clinics need that access. We want to increase that to 100%. And when we have infrastructure that is across the country, it will become very easy. It means that because one is at the moment our country is connected using the terrestrial network. What we intend to do is then to connect the country through satellite. Satellite will mean that the same way that you receive television signal, it covers, irrespective of where you are able to receive a satellite signal. That's really where our heart is, to ensure that the country is connected. It doesn't matter if you look at Oppo now, Konani, not Oppo. Konani has 41% connectivity, but that's only because we depend on a terrestrial network. And most of the time we have to depend where there are higher mountains, so you can put up a transmitter in there. So that becomes irrelevant in the greater scheme of things when it's satellite connectivity, because satellite will come from the air. Then obviously it will mean that everybody else will have a setup box, so that you receive the message that will be transmitted into the vicinity. So that's the advantage of that, and that's really where we are headed. So the idea is to again, as I say, just to sum up, to say we want to have a connected, a digitally connected Namibia that will also lower the cost. At the moment, we've gone down now. At some point, we were the 18th most expensive country in Africa. Now we're in the top 12 cheapest on the continent. These are the efforts that were made by the government to ensure that through Crane we talk to the operators to reduce the data bundles that the operators are selling. So it will be even better when we have satellite connectivity. The idea of that, while we're doing the issue of satellite, where government is now, is to ensure that we're providing funding to put up a terrestrial network. But now these sites will not just carry telecommunications, but also have for broadcasting purposes. At the moment, you will find 3 transmitters in one site. One will belong to NBC, one will belong to Telecom, one will belong to NBC, or any of those. So what we're driving at now is, from this current financial year, we will put up infrastructure where we think our people are not being covered sufficient. Maybe for reasons, maybe they are poor people, they don't have banks, but government has interest in making sure that everyone else is connected. So we'll put up transmitters that provide for both broadcasting and telecoms, so that you don't have a mushrooming of infrastructure throughout. This will also resolve the issue of infrastructure sharing. There are those who are very reluctant to share infrastructure with others because they want to be dominant in that area. So they rather have their own infrastructure. So we're saying we don't want that. We'll put up at the government cost. We'll put up this infrastructure. Whoever wants to piggyback on that, then they're good to go. Yeah. Well, I can tell you now that we're getting into IDs, digital IDs. Government already approved that last year. This year we're going to be engaging with the Minister of Home Affairs, so that they are the implementer of digital IDs, but we are the regulator in terms of the policies. So one of the issues that we are trying to resolve is having to have to legally impose e-signatures. At the moment, you can only sign a document validly only if it's a wet signature. So there's a provision in the law that we want to now regulate to ensure that e-signatures become valid. So then that gives effect to issue of digital IDs. So we're on track on that. And our colleagues in the Ministry of Home Affairs have actually done a lot of work with regards to digitization of some of the processes. Your e-passport is in place. E-health, the Minister of Education have done that. E-justice, the Minister of the Judiciary have implemented that. So gradually, we want to ensure that that's why we're giving ourselves sufficient time. There's a good chance that we could achieve that even before 2030. Because I think the understanding, once the understanding is there, and there's appetite for us, for functionaries to ensure that we implement this speedily, we could probably achieve that. If you look at part of HPP targets was to have for technology to reach, for connectivity to reach 80%. We've exceeded that by 5%. So we're now at 85%. I'm sure by the end of this year, that figure will change too. That is why I'm quite confident about 2030 target, that we'll probably achieve it 3 years ahead of time. If you take the use of artificial intelligence, how that can benefit us. I know there is a mining company that have applied for a spectrum. What they tend to do is that through 5G, it will support the artificial intelligence elements, that the mine operates 24 hours. A truck, instead of being driven manually by a person, is automated, that it picks up whatever it is that you pick to put up on the load, go in front in there. There's only one person that simply controls that. So that brings productivity to the mining industry. If you take that into agriculture, where you wait for the rain, if you have the automated system that ensures that you water your farm for 2 hours in the morning up to 10 o'clock, then this can be done with an automated system. So this really improves productivity. It reduces the cost for businesses. So there are many examples that I could give. If you take education, for example, we have 26 centers across the ICT rural centers throughout the country. Our vision is to ensure that they are fully capacitated, such that if there's a school that is nearby, learners can come into that classroom. For example, physical science, 26. But then that school may not have full capacity in terms of teachers who are able to teach physical science. So you can simply put learners in that center. Then you link them to a teacher who is based in Ochivarongo. Then you'll be able to teach the learners in Pungu. So that's really how we want to advance technology. Where COVID taught us many things that we don't have to meet physically, but we can use technology to really improve our lives. We've done that. The efficiency in terms of meetings, we've been able to do better. So that's really how we want to improve technology. One, to have digital literacy. Two, to reduce costs that will result through a physical interaction. And thirdly, to create efficiency that otherwise could not be done by humans. It will be hard to plow at certain hours because you must be on a tractor or you must plow manually with cows, with oxen. But if technology is such that it's done by machines, it doesn't matter what time of the day, you can still plow. So you can plow throughout the day because the heat doesn't affect the machine. So really, this is how we want to improve efficiency. But the most important thing is just to close the distances between our settlements. If you live in Mukwe, and the nearest banking place is in Rundu, that's about 100. If you take the off-road, it's about 220 kilometers. So, if you are allowed through now, because part of the challenge now is that the digital signature we're talking about. You can do transaction from home. Then the elders who usually will go to Rundu to go and get pensions, those pensions can be accessed in a manner that's much more sustainable, both to the government, but also reduce costs for the elder person who must pay now $100, $200, $150 to travel from Divundu to get into town. So that most of the time it comes out of the salaries that from a grant that's given to you. So we want to reduce all of that so that you just get a card that allows you to tap at any shop where they give you groceries, whatever it is that you require. Yeah.